A kidnapped girl signaled the bikers. They didn't think twice. The highway stretched endlessly beneath the afternoon sun as members of the Iron Riders Motorcycle Club cruised toward the next town for their annual charity event. Their engines echoed across the open road while passing drivers glanced nervously at the large motorcycles and leather jackets covered in patches. Most people made assumptions the moment they saw them. They saw rough faces, tattoos, and loud engines. They didn't see the veterans who volunteered at shelters, the mechanics who repaired cars for struggling families, or the fathers who spent weekends coaching Little League teams. Leading the group was 48-year-old Tom Reyes, a former Army medic with a gray beard and calm eyes that missed very little. As the riders approached a busy gas station outside a small town, Tom raised his hand, signaling for a quick stop. The group parked their motorcycles while some grabbed coffee and others stretched their legs after hours on the road. That was when Tom noticed the SUV parked near the edge of the station. At first nothing seemed unusual. A man sat in the driver's seat while another stood near the entrance speaking on his phone. But then Tom noticed the girl sitting quietly in the back seat. She couldn't have been older than 12. She looked exhausted, her eyes fixed on the ground. As Tom glanced toward the vehicle, the girl looked up and their eyes met for only a second. Then she slowly raised her hand and made a small gesture toward him. It was subtle enough that most people would have missed it completely. She touched her palm, folded her thumb inward, and closed her fingers over it. Tom froze. Months earlier his daughter had shown him a public awareness video about an emergency hand signal used by people who needed help but couldn't safely ask for it directly. The girl looked away immediately and stared back at the floor of the SUV. Tom didn't react. He simply walked toward the convenience store as if nothing had happened. Inside, he quietly gathered several members of the club. "Something's wrong with that vehicle," he said calmly. The others looked toward the SUV without drawing attention to themselves. One rider nodded slowly. Another noticed the girl's frightened expression through the window. Tom approached the store manager and asked him to contact emergency services immediately while providing the vehicle description and location. Nobody panicked. Nobody played hero. They simply stayed nearby and watched carefully while waiting for help to arrive. A few minutes later, the man who had been outside returned to the SUV and spoke angrily to the driver. The vehicle started and slowly pulled toward the exit. Without blocking the road or creating danger, several bikers casually left the station as well, remaining within sight of the vehicle while maintaining communication with authorities who were already responding. The SUV eventually stopped near a roadside diner several miles away. The riders parked at a distance and waited. Within minutes, police vehicles arrived and safely approached the situation. The girl was found unharmed and quickly reunited with officers who had been searching for her since the previous evening. News of the rescue spread through the town by the next morning. Reporters gathered outside the police station, eager to speak with the bikers who had helped save the girl. Tom stood awkwardly in front of the cameras. "We didn't rescue anybody," he said. "A brave kid asked for help, and we listened." The girl's parents arrived later that afternoon. Her mother burst into tears the moment she saw her daughter again, holding her so tightly that neither wanted to let go. Her father shook hands with every member of the motorcycle club, struggling to find the right words. "Thank you" didn't feel big enough for what had happened. 2 weeks later, the Iron Riders received an invitation to a community picnic organized by the girl's family. Unsure what to expect, the bikers arrived on their motorcycles and were surprised to find dozens of families waiting to greet them. Children ran toward the motorcycles with excitement while parents offered handshakes and smiles. The little girl, whose name was Sophie, walked directly toward Tom holding a small gift bag. "This is for you," she said quietly. Inside was a drawing of several motorcycles parked beneath a bright blue sky. At the center stood a little girl with the words "Thank you for seeing me" written above her head. Tom stared at the picture for several seconds before smiling. "I'm going to hang this in our clubhouse," he said. Sophie grinned proudly. Throughout the afternoon, the bikers answered questions from curious children, shared stories, and even allowed the kids to sit on the motorcycles for photographs. Many parents admitted they had once been intimidated by biker groups before meeting the Iron Riders. One mother laughed nervously and said, "You don't look anything like the movies." Tom smiled. "Most people don't." As the sun began to set, Sophie walked over to Tom one final time. "Were you scared?" she asked. Tom thought for a moment before answering. "A little." Sophie looked surprised. "Then why did you help?" Tom looked toward the other riders laughing nearby with local families. "Because courage isn't about not being scared," he said gently. "It's about choosing to care anyway." Sophie nodded slowly as if memorizing every word. Later that evening, the motorcycles rolled back onto the highway beneath the orange glow of sunset. Tom glanced in his mirror and saw Sophie and her family waving as they disappeared into the distance. Around him, the engines rumbled steadily across the open road. To passing strangers, they were still just bikers in leather jackets riding loud machines toward the horizon. But somewhere in a small town behind them was a family that would forever see something different. They would see the men who stopped what they were doing, paid attention to a silent signal, and chose compassion without hesitation. And sometimes, Tom thought as the highway stretched ahead, changing a life begins with something as simple as noticing when someone is asking for help.